Okie dokie, we have returned, ladies and gentlemen. To those who have rejoined us on the stream, well, part 2 of this stream, thank you. Thank you. And for the ever growing patience for bearing with me here. For any newcomers to this who are confused by the title, well, I had a stream not 10 minutes ago and it crashed due to, as Jinxie says it, DrTorment and his tale of terrible PC issues. Okay. I laugh because it's true and painful. Oh, dear, oh dear, oh dear. I wish I could say it's a rare occurrence, but honestly, I don't know what else to do. Like, I've updated the Streamlabs, which is the software I'm using. Kitty Cat is making strange noises in the corner over there. So I've updated the software I'm using. I've followed recommendations on the site. I put it on administrator, whatever it's called, administrator permissions and stuff like that. And still it crashes at changing the screen share button. I mean, jeez, man. But we are back. Best not to dwell on it. Less depressive that way. And let us continue. So, for those of you who have just joined this stream, in the last one before it crashed, we were watching a collaboration between Dreadful Anecdotes and myself on his channel. Jinxie was kind enough to link that video in the chat here. Please go have a look, send Dreadful my regards, and of course subscribe to his channel as well for more interesting stories like that. Sorry, I was gone there for a moment. Kitty Cat was doing something she shouldn't do. Had to, well, basically had to drag her away from the corner because she was doing something there and making holes in the wall. Don't like that. Meow, 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 indeed, Jinxie. That is indeed her. And indeed, Chaos Kitty, says Madam Strangeway. Yes, the chaos has begun already. Which is basically why I cut the audio, because it was getting a little loud, and I don't want to bother everyone with me getting up and, well, making my cat angry by putting her away from her favorite spot. Indeed, and then there's Michelle, who also said before the stream started, I was wondering what happened in regards to the stream I mentioned. Thought maybe you were going all Tony Soprano on us. Lame joke, I know, I'll just quietly observe from the shadows now. No, by all means, be active, Michelle, it's all lovely. It does bring me memories of the end of The Sopranos, though. Oh, now I want to watch the show again. God damn. Jinxie, she's digging holes to escape and come home to me. No, Jinxie, we've been over this. Okay, that's just not going to happen. Okie dokie. That is just a no. She is mine. The other two are mine. They are not yours. They're not going to Canada. Madam Strangeway, it's just ASMR. Well, yes, sure, but I have to pay for damages to the apartment, so... Yeah, madam, it's just ASMR, sure, but at the same time, it really is not. It really is not. Let's see, with that said... I can see her doing it again. Okay, hey. Lilith? No. Don't you dare. The reason I'm a little concerned about that particular spot is because there's a picture over there with family members. It's one of the last pictures, well, one of the last copies of that picture that is in existence for the family. There's like only two. I have one of them. And if that one were to break, which is also the original by chance, it will really upset me. So I'm trying to avoid that. Cindy Cleveland, my cat was just in my arms asleep. You lucky, lucky gal, Cindy. I wish mine could do that. But unfortunately, when I put them in that position, they try to fight me. I don't know why, they just do. Michelle Grimm, thank you, Doc and Madam Strange recipes, Tony Soprano. Yeah, it was. Well, I don't know. Should I spoil it? The show has been done for so many for almost 2 decades now. I can spoil it. It's just. I think it was hinted at heavily that Tony was shot in the end. But by whom? One might ask. By whom? I'm actually kind of curious now myself. I thought I read somewhere that it was Paulie who orchestrated it. But don't take that in don't quote me on that. I just read that somewhere. Something about him being disgruntled near the end. And realizing Tony should not be leading the ship or something like that. I don't know. But this what I've read like a year ago. Sorry, I had to jump off again to avoid any more damages to my wall. And here we are. Where was I? Right. Jinxie. But did he die? Do we actually know? Well, it's heavily hinted at. They never I think they confirmed it in an interview or like heavily hinted at that. But yeah, you can assume Tony is. Well, it's a series about the American mob. I'm not gonna say the mafia because in my head that translates to something entirely else in Italian. And really comparing the Italian mob to the Italian mob. Comparing the Italian mafia to the American mob is basically like comparing SEAL Team 6 with the Girl Scouts. You can't compare them in the same leagues, especially not nowadays. Absolutely not. Madam Strangeways, I've rewatched the whole. Madam Strangeways, I just rewatched the whole thing a couple of months ago and Paulie knew about it but didn't orchestrate it if you watch and pay attention. Well, that's it. I have to rewatch it, Madam Strangeways. Bobby Dangerously, hi all, he says. Welcome, hello, Bobby, welcome to the backup of my original stream. Again, I wish I could say this isn't as frequent, but unfortunately it is. Usually when I screen share, apparently when I turn the screen share off, the stream tends to crash. So I'm thinking maybe in the future, no screen shares. Which is also kinda sad because I was planning to do game streams as well, but if this is going to happen every time I quit screen sharing or game streaming, yeah, there's really no use to it, is there? Madam Strangeways. But the Girl Scouts are selling gabagool. You're right, but still, again, Italian Mafia, Seam Steel 6, what the hell? I'm so thrown off right now. SEAL Team 6 being the Italian Mafia, and the American mob being the Girl Scouts. That's as accurate as I can compare the two entities, okay? Especially nowadays, like, there's no comparison even. One is still heavily intertwined in the government, or governments, I should say, while the other is known for beating up people in alleyways and afraid of being anything in the open again. Michelle Grimm is laughing at Madame Strangeways' comment about selling the gabagool. Lilith, I have my eyes on you. No kitty chaos like that again, please. So, now that we are proper set into this backup stream, let's see what we can do. Live readings, I think. Does everyone agree? Maybe a live reading, a creepypasta or Reddit story? Ooh, maybe one of my own writings. Actually, I'm gonna make it a poll. What should DrTorment read? No, what should the doctor read? Creepypasta, choice 1. Choice 2, Reddit. Of course, when it comes to Reddit stories, it will be a story that I've already have permission to read out. I'm not just gonna pluck one out. Or option 3, own writing. And skadoosh. By all means, chat, go ahead and vote away on what the good DrTorment should be reading for you. And the only reason I put in own writing is because me and someone else in this chat, who I will not say out loud, but if they feel inclined they may introduce themselves as such, had a lovely talk about some writings I did a while back and on my blog that I still have open. And, well, they were very kind words and it kind of got me back into that mood again. So, yes, that project will most likely continue. We'll most likely, I say, of course. I'm not going to give any guarantees if I don't have any guarantees myself, but most likely. Hello, SJ Curtis, and welcome to the backup stream. Welcome. Apologies for the earlier crash of the previous stream. Again, wish I could say it was a rarity, but honestly, I don't know what else to do. Like, I already have, like, upgraded Streamlabs, the software. I have changed the Windows framework just to make it work. I've edited the administrator permissions for the program. I'm honestly at a loss here. I don't know why it keeps crashing whenever I turn off screen sharing. But you know what? That's that. That's the last I'm gonna waste my breath on it. If anyone that is more technologically inclined in the chat could please help me out, that would be fine. But until then, I don't think game streams or screen sharing will be a thing. Madame Strangeways. Anyone can read creepypasta. We need original Torment tales. Here's the thing, Madame Strangeways. So, are they my original writings? Absolutely, they are. The thing is, they are not Torment lore, nor specifically horror. They are more on the lines of dark fantasy. You know? But still, I'm happy to read them out if the chat wants me to. Speaking of, how's the poll going? One, maybe? Oh, a few people. Wait, hold on. What's happening? 8 votes so far. 25% aiming for creepypasta and 75% aiming for own writing. Yeah, Reddit is not as popular nowadays, is it? Although my latest stories, the Wendigo's Call, is a Reddit story. Highly recommend everyone to check that one out. Also, for people who are new to the channel, welcome again. And also, I'm going to say it again on this stream, I do have a Spotify channel, of which the link is in the description if you do not want to bother with YouTube, which I completely understand. Michelle Grimm. Yes, I agree with Madame Strangeways, she says. Original stories are much needed in this day and age Age of, okay, sorry, I just saw the correction there. Day and age of regurgitation. I mean, you said it, sister. Madam Strangeway, the people have spoken. Yes. Have the people spoken, though? I mean, chatting and typing isn't speaking, technically, but yeah, sure, the poll. The majority is swinging to own writing, so that's exactly what we will be doing then. Fine. An own writing by DrTorment. You shall have. Let me just go to my Google Drive and pick one out for you. Should be a doozy, though. No, this is the wrong Google account. There we are. Should be a doozy. Here's the thing, I'm very skeptical about my own writings. Just saying. So if I feel like it doesn't really fit the vibe or niche of the stream and or channel, I'm not really gonna read it. Oh, here's one of 45 pages. Let's not. That's a little too long, I think. Not 45 pages, thank you. I mean, I suppose I can do it in parts. Still, it's a little too long, though. Yeah, it's a little too long. Folders. Here we are, finally. Jesus. Right, that was getting a little scary for my comfort, but here we are. Where are my stories? Short stories and lore. This one? No, not you. One of the night? Maybe? No. Too graphic. So, as I said, I'm holding myself to some standards. This one, maybe? Character stories? Good. Ah, yes. Well, that's an annoying little font. Wait, I think this one. Yes, this one. But it has an annoying little font, so I'm first gonna change that. Cambria. Yes, Cambria should work. Just for me that it is readable, because for some reason I decided to make the font cursive or something like that, so it looks like being handwritten, but obviously it's a little difficult for me to read at the moment. So I'm changing that and do it like so. Yeah, it should be done. Yes, oh, mamma mia, that is much better. Much better to read. And this one says it's also a show, but I highly doubt it. Same character. Right, so as I said, the story will be more dark fantasy, own writing, own world also. So without further ado, let us start the story of Law of the Beast. Wait, before I start, let me have a little look in the chat first. I'm sorry for postponing this, but let me have just a little look. I'm just gonna end the poll there. Here we go. That is that. Yes, Madam Strange Trader, people have typed and click. I get it. Yes. You get what you want, don't worry. Salem, hi, hello, and welcome. Welcome to the stream. I was just about to read one of my original stories set in a dark fantasy world, a project I have put on hold 2 years ago. I'm now gonna read one of those. And yes, thank you, Jinxie, for doing that. As for M, whoever you are, please do not spam the chat, or else I will reserve the mod to utterly remove you from the channel and this stream. Alright, can we agree on this? I mean, there is There are rules in the chat. By all means, look in the description. Now then, where was I? Ah, right. As I said, the law of the beast, which should be taken in as a written account. Kitty cat, hello, welcome. Yes, indeed, I'm about to read. Let us begin. Kitty cat, let me start, please. We had enough chaos for today. Thank you. Alright. Kitty cat, please. Bobby, I see you saying no reason for that. Is that to me or to Mr. or Ma'am? As for Oh wait, I'm already oh wait, I see what I did. Okay, yes. So here's the thing, I cannot remove that chat from the actual video there. And I see what they spelled out. That, oh god, some people. Jinxie by all means, remove them entirely from the channel and the stream. By all means. Degenerates. Utter degenerates. Utter degenerate, that's just... To find the time and do that, I mean, how pathetic and low-life must you be? Jinxie, I did. Thank you for that, Jinxie. Now, without any more postponing, the reading is Law of the Beast, a personal and own little writing. Kitty cat, I'm trying to explain things here. An own little writing... but which is told in a way as a report to read out for. Or something like that. I don't know, it was last time I touched this was like 3 years ago, so forgive me for that, for not knowing the exact details again. I do know, and this is for the fans, I do know that it is a vampire story. Yes, indeed. So that's the only thing you'll get from me. And now, without further ado, let us begin. Law of the Beast. The following is an account made by collaborating mages and scholars piecing together writings of King Aldous the Golden, his household guards and servants. Written and under review for approval from the Minister of Nocturnal Affairs, Overseer of the Red Quarter, Chief Administrator of the Night Folk, and Lord Chamberlain of the Realm, officers embodied in one vessel as decreed and appointed by the Crown. Long has Salastonir been a haven for all manner of people seeking a new life. Recent centuries saw an increase of a particular kind. Most would only fear and tell chilling stories to their children at night. The vampire. Often it has been debated if a semblance of reason could be found in the undead, and many called for a mass hunt within the city. That was until hordes of lesser vampires suddenly fled from their basements and sewer abodes during the middle of the day. Away from the capital, like their existence depended on it. A few were captured, if a bit feral, for not being able to leave. One smashed its own head at the stone wall until it split open like a melon. Suicide would not work on the vampire, and in its pained state, the prison guards decided to end its suffering there. Later, these guards told their officers the prisoner's last screeching words were, "We did not know. His domain, his domain. He'll find us. Woe the Blood-Eye, woe the Blood-Eye." The vampire population was quelled for now, but the question remained. What could fill the undead with so much dread that they even resort to unsuccessful suicides? None of the others dared to speak, claiming too much had been said. Not being fed for weeks, they became ferocious, ghoulish creatures known as Arcatan, more bestial than what they were before. Shriveled corpses with limbs twice as long, skin grey as mountain rocks and scaling the walls, moving like frantic staffed spiders. They were found the next day, dead, broken, violated, decapitated and burned, huddled in the corner of their cages like frightened sheep at a slaughterhouse. Yet none of the guards claimed responsibility. All were outside, standing watch at the door and hall, and still they claimed to have heard nothing out of the ordinary, save for the thick mist that seeped through the opened windows. Rumors circulated of a greater evil lurking beneath the city streets, one that would not abide trespassers. A group of vigil. And just for elaboration, I'm going to stop here. So the vigil are basically, let's call them a specialized organization dealing in demons and monsters. That's about the short version of it. I will not elaborate further on it. Now, back to the story. A group of vigils specialized in vampires went down but found nothing there. Not even rats. Only piles and heaps of smoldering corpses belonging to the fled trespassers. It would not take long, maybe a week or so, before a young yet seductive woman dressed scandalously elegant requested an audience with the very king, Elders, when the red sun was almost fully in the ocean's horizon. Elders was called the Golden for his coffers being so filled heavy by taxes, he often bathed in the hoard naked, believing it to bring great fortunes to his house of Casanor. The visiting woman claimed to have been sent by her master as a peace offering, and promised that no other vampire will invade the city while her master Blood-Eye is left alone. Rightfully guessing her as a vampire, King Elders asked what made her think she would walk away to report back. She answered that as she was the offering, the king may do as he pleases with. The words were those of some happiness while knowing her life could be forfeit. It beckoned the question, what manner of living darkness could enamor one so fully that truly dying is welcomed? There was a twisted love in her eyes, like it was the first time she experienced it. King Elders was no fool. He knew the woman was sent as a glimpse of her master's influence. He therefore requested that if this master Blood-Eye was open to speak in person. Giggling, the woman said he would, but not here. Her head kept moving briskly to the right, like some unseen hand grabbed her chin and whispered the words she spoke. She asked if the castle villa next to the Rising Keep, this is the royal castle by the way in the city, the Rising Keep, she asked if the castle villa next to the Rising Keep was still vacant. Elder scoffed and claimed that she already knew the answer to that, and wanted to know why this cursed relic was so important. Fangs appeared as the woman spoke like a dog kept on a painful leash, still with that twisted love on her face. A broker from the Horizon Guild would soon visit the property. The king would meet the broker and arrange for Alders and Blood-Eye to speak safely and privately. Hunger took over, and she lunged at the marble throne, pushing away the guards with ease. Pinning the king at his shoulder, she prepared for a royal meal. Then a sickening crack, and another, and another. They came faster as the seconds passed. Alders beheld her once beautiful face crumble like a broken nut before him. her bones twisting and breaking like brittle, dry twigs of autumn. She was being undone from... Wait, hold on, what's this? Mosquito. Ah! Mosquito, go away. Sorry for that. Mosquito just almost flew into my eye there. Elders beheld her once beautiful face crumble like a broken nut before him, her bones twisting and breaking like brittle dry twigs of autumn. She was being undone from within by another's will. Silent anger hung and made the air sick. Blood-Eye was most displeased with her. She fell off the throne stairs as if a broken doll of porcelain, and true age reduced her to dust. Flying creatures of the night, flying creatures of the night, bats, flies, owls and more swirled around the king's tower and flew away in every direction of the wind. At least a dozen nobles, known to be dubious and abusing their influence in Aldous' court, went missing that night. Few days passed as the unease sat as a great mist engulfed the city in cold and bleakness. As promised, a Horizon Guild broker approached the keep and was brought before Aldous with a selling contract. The man had a traditional blue and yellow attire with traveling boots befitting. A thick red scarf and triangular black cap hid most of his head, but old, pale wrinkles could still be seen above the blood-red cloth. He never spoke a word and only stared at Aldous while he read the contract. When inquired where the other party he'd sell the property to was, Aldous dreaded the moment when the scarfed man pointed out the estate's name. Blood-Eye would be waiting there to finalize the sale personally with the king. Before Aldous or anyone else could witness, the man was gone, and the thick fog dispersed. Aldous foresaw that a conflict with this Blood-Eye would mean the death of a great many subjects, and against the counsel of his privy chosen, he contemplated an accord with whatever this intelligent beast was. In the cover of darkness, the king rode with some scarlet guardsmen to at last meet with the creature at the nearby castle villa. Moving candlelight like tormented amber ghosts of the past moved from one room to the other. Some wandered within. Unmounting his steed, Aldous commanded to remain outside and to come with swords in hand if at any sign of trouble. Thrice he knocked on the door before it creaked open. There stood a man so old he might have witnessed the world's first bloom in the first spring. Wrinkle upon wrinkle, nails as long as daggers and tenfold as vicious, hair as long as a horse's tail and as white as snowy plains in the north. A miasma of decay surrounded him as he invited the king inside. His eyes were dark, but most disturbing was where the white in them should be. They were filled with so much blood he almost gave tears for it. There was no mistake. This was the beast named Blood-Eye. How was this shriveled shell of a man so fearsome to even the undead? Aldous followed the man to the grand dining room, where both seated towards each other at a long table. Cobwebs and dust hung and fluttered around them. No one before them entered here since the fall of the old empire. Blood-Eye was so pleased to see the king to be a man of reason, which he found interesting in a monarch. He continued by humbly introducing himself with his true name, Aaron Roman. King Aldous inquired further on his past, but Roman said that the name is enough, and focused the attention back at the sale and further conditions. Roman invited the king to stay until the negotiations were over, ensuring Aldous that he had nothing to fear as Blood-Eye doesn't harm potential friends. Knowing this also as a show of strength, Aldous agreed so long as a single guard always stood watch. The first night, Roman showed the king where he could stay to rest and apologized for the lack of servants as the property was officially not his yet. He bid both Aldous and the guardsmen a good night. Waking in the early morning, Aldous felt weaker and recovered from the weirdest dream. He found himself surrounded by dozens of concubines he has known for their discreet services and gold given to monstrous men too fat to have survived in real life, all gorging on the sacks of gold the king fed them. Flaps of meaty skin covered their faces, but Aldous knew their amulets and uniforms. Officials, nobles, captains, all men he bribed in the past to hide his own sins. The women suddenly were covered in blood and moaned in agony and pleasure both. Their eyes were as red as what they were covered in, all lunged at the king and tore the meat from his bones. Such a vivid dream. Aldous could feel the bites and the scratches after waking up. Downstairs awaited a well-prepared breakfast, and the guardsman was allowed to sit next to the king to eat. The two men were silent, but the food impressed them. They heard steps above them towards the stairs. Something came down, the figure of a man, but the shadows were too dark to see who. Naturally, it was assumed to be their host. A wariness weakened both men's eyesight. A figure in rich embroidered robes walked around, lighting the candles at as the windows were sealed. Aldous' strength returned as he heard a Roman saying that the villa has a will of its own, but he's doing his best to satisfy it. Looking up, Aldous saw Roman, but oddly he was younger. His nails were shorter, as was his hair, which was no longer stark white, but had darker patches in its length. No longer was his skin corpse-like, but more alive, and his voice not as cracked as before. Where there should be a heavy stench, it was less so now with the vague smell of cut grass after rainfall. Roman sat on the other side of the table and declared the beginning of the negotiations. He proposed with Aldous something unprecedented, a whole society of vampires serving the crown. Though such service would grant great advantages to the kingdom of Bastion, Aldous wondered what Roman wanted in return, besides the property. His terms were rather simple. The vampiric society under the crown will be treated as any other citizen in Bastion. Their ranking within I'm sorry, just rereading this. Their ranking within stand outside their standing in the kingdom, and ultimately vampires will be fed with the blood of animals, but mainly of pigs due to their likeness to that of humans, and lastly, that Roman has the final say in these vampiric affairs. This would give him an optional position in the ruling body of Bastion, as well as a seat in the privied circle. A notion that somewhat troubled Aldous, who asked to which society Roman belonged, deducing him to be an elder vampire at least. Roman simply answered that he was master of his own and belonged to no one unless he decided otherwise. The entirety of the day was spent on details, and evening was only known when Roman said it was. Aldous returned to his quarters and suffered the same dream as before. This time, beggars joined, and wept as the grotesque figures sat on them, and the bloodied concubines hissed. Now the beggars dragged the king beneath them to be crushed and smothered like them. I'm going to do a little break here just to get my voice back up. I'm not going to do a break off the stream, just a little break from reading. So far, as this is going, how is the story for you, dear chat? And let me have a look. Hello, Felix. Hello, welcome to the stream. I hope you enjoyed the reading I just did. Shrubby, hello, Shrubby. Shrubby saying, you fool, you broke it. Yes, Shrubby, I tend to do that a lot. Shrubby, do not antagonize Jinx, because she will ban you. We have already banned someone on the server. Michelle. Ha! A tiny bloodsucker visits while you read of vampires. Yes, yes, it visited while trying to fly into my eye. Dreadful anger, Shrubby. Man, calm down a bit, will ya? Shrubby says, uh-oh, he is roboting. Roboting? Wait, what? Shrubby, a little bit of elaboration on that one. Not entirely sure. But Shrubby, I did say in the voice chat on Discord that Jinxie has no qualms using the hammer. So please, do behave. The YouTube is a little bit, how to say it, more tight-lipped on the rules. A lot. Like, they can even read on this chat, so please, do contain thyself. How was I? Ah, right. So, chat, from what you've heard of the story so far, before I continue reading, how was it? How is it? Any notes, perhaps? Notes, feedback, base. I can take it all. Jinxie, I'm a happy hammerer. That you are, Jinxie, that you are. I won't comment on your spaghetti making skills, however. But you certainly are a very good hammerer. Michelle, I really like the story so far. It had some Dante vibes there for a sec when describing the dream. I'm very interested in hearing the rest. Interesting that you should say that, Michelle. Not that Dante's Divine Comedy was in my mind when I was writing this, mind you, but I did read it just about a week after I did write this. I highly recommend the book to any readers out there. To anyone that has jumped into the chat, that has jumped into the stream new, welcome. I was just reading one of my own dark fantasy stories set in a dark fantasy world, what have you. I'm about to continue that. I'm just gonna take a little sip from water. Am I getting notifications of Windows? Please do not tell me it pertains to Streamlabs. I will be miffy. No, it doesn't have to do with Streamlabs, thank God. Sip, sip. As a dear friend of mine would say, little sippy sip. Right. We have waited long enough. Let us continue with the story then. as Michelle is very, very interested to hear more. And so we shall. A week has now passed, but to elders it seemed like a day. The king weakened with every minute. His appearance also altered drastically. Clumps of his once long blonde hair fell off as frequent as the nails of his fingers and toes. He reeked foul and attracted flies with his own odor. Once he roamed the castle villa during the day with his fated guard and found barrels and caskets filled with corpses. Realizing they were victims sentenced to a worse fate than death, the guard tried to pierce their heart, but was beset before his sword could strike. The dead rose, begging for absolution, while hunger turned them absolutely ravenous. Being eaten alive was not a fate Elder shared, and he left his loyal guard for the horde, who pursued him through newly dug tunnels leading to a great open hall within the center, where within the center was a stone sarcophagus that had been split in its length. A name was skillfully carved on the epitaph: Roman. In some disbelief or delusion, after seeing the dead feast on the living, elders looked through the crack and saw indeed Roman sleeping within. Younger once more in face, and slowly his bloody eyes opened angrily for being disturbed. Effortlessly, Roman slided the cracked resting place open and rose like a monument for the night could. A horde of undead approached, smelling their prey, but a vicious hiss and showing his serrated fangs, and they all retreated back to where they belonged, locked up. Then Roman hissed with an open maw at elders, and the king promptly fainted. He woke up again at the long table with the sound of high-pitched tingling near him. Stroking a crystal glass filled with his favorite beverage, Roman sat relaxed on a couch with shadows veiling his visage, but his bloody eyes now shone like sanguine torches. He leaned forward, saying elders looked quite under the weather. Who wouldn't be, as he looked older than he was, quite drained of vigor and youth and memory. Unlike his host, who looked like he had barely entered his 40s. Keeping a short black goatee and mustache around his lips and dark blonde, almost oaken brown hair combed back with oil, but the hairs comforting the back of his neck still loose. More like a groomed lion of the night. He wore a dark red noble's outfit with a black shoulder cape fashioned like a bat's wing in a show of humor for his nature. No longer were his eyes filled with bright blood, but ivory white, with dark burgundy circles with the black core. Presenting documents with Roman signature already on it, all that needed to be done was the king giving his sigil, and their business was concluded. The grand castle villa would belong to Roman and Roman alone as his home and seat of power until he decided to part with it. The Lesser Society of Vampires and all its blood covens may reside as citizens of Bastion and its territories, supervised by Roman, now appointed as the Minister of Nocturnal Affairs, whose sphere extended to all officers during the night. Dazed by his own woeful health and the ambrosiac words and presence of his host, elders thought to hear babies nearby. but he saw only a large barrel for wine storage and presumed it was just that. Then another cry, from behind a closed door, or maybe a sealed lid. More crying, more babies. Despite that Aldous swore to hear them. Roman insisted there were no such things here. Maybe it was the building's history playing tricks. During the Imperial Age, it was given to the most cruel and vile servants of the Empire, Lord Magisters, sorcerers specialized in the demonic and occult that, next to the didact Emperor, governed the old Empire. Who knows what kind of rituals and suffering happened beneath this very roof? How much blood once flowed over the floor and walls, how many souls still lingered in the shadows. Wanting to get out at once, the king signed every paper, even those that did not require it. He handed the papers and congratulated Roman on the property and position, but fell as he got up. Roman dropped the barrel to its side and rolled it somewhere out of sight. Again, baby cries were heard, and the new noble playfully laughed to put away his young vintage. Aldous beckoned for mercy, but sleep took him to his older nightmare of guilt and self-contempt. A sea of blood, storms of pitch-black clouds, and red lightning with moaning thunder, he floated above the wild waves in a swarm of flies and bats. He floated above the wild waves in a swarm of flies, and bats ate the flesh till the bones were bare. Accepting death's embrace, crows landed on Aldous' head and pecked the sockets of his eyes empty. The piercing light of dawn awoke the king, and he found himself back in the rising keep in his personal quarters. Like the week was its own nightmare. Looking in the mirror, Aldous was in disbelief. No ailment plagued him. All his hair remained healthy and whole, his skin fair as a peach. Indeed, for a moment he was disillusioned with reality and thought it yet another dream, until he saw a pile of signed papers on his desk, his part of the documents, his signature and that of Roman. That day, he asked the Lord Chamberlain how he returned. Apparently, the king caught a fever for the many restless nights negotiating with the new member of His Highness's privy circle. Months went by, and more vampires signed themselves in the Knight's Ledger, a book held by the now Minister of Nocturnal Affairs, holding the names and living places of every vampire wanting to live openly in Bastion. Most would make a home in Salastonir, within the newly created Red Quarter of the city, named for the prominent color of Roman's outfits, and happening to be near the aptly named Castle Roman, the castle villa that they signed for, that is. Aldous enjoyed a long and prosperous arrangement with his new ally. Those sentenced to death for the most heinous crimes were often sent to Castle Roman in the dark of the night, never seen or heard from again. Additional powers were granted to the new minister, such as sanctioning and overseeing non-public executions, as well as having a say in economic decisions due to his experience and connections with various trade organizations and guilds. For more discreetness, he even offered the crown the service of the Shades, highly skilled assassins that earned an almost legendary status for the assassination of Belland, the first king of Elan and the Elves. a surface that was often used but never recorded in history for who or what. More than a few lords and even a couple of Lord Chamberlains suddenly died by some bizarre accidents. He even fashioned his own banner to be hung before the gates and within his walls, a red eye on a black field with sanguine tears. While Aldous finally lay on his deathbed, he summoned his longest ally and friend. Roman exited the king's quarters hours later, announcing his death. Aldous was buried as a drained corpse. Although Roman had courtly duties, he would still often travel about as he had a fairly flexible schedule, and for a long time he remained a secret power in the royal court of Bastion, a power in shadows hiding in the light. Recently, King Calum made his predecessor's history public knowledge, including Aldous, and the beast was revealed. And yet not culled. Such is the way of Roman. He still serves the crown with any and all requests, yet Calum desired the man in red to remain in the city. From now on, he'd need to request to leave. A small thing to demand for the indefinite lifespan of a vampire. One day, Calum and his wife, Queen Milana, wondered why Roman was so feared among his kind, and when they inquired during a tour of the Red Quarter, they were met with silence, excuses, and attempts to change the subject entirely. Some of the Lesar kindred even begged not to pursue the matter. A befriended monster was still better than a hunting fiend. To this day, Roman's law is a revolutionary step towards the standing of sentient creatures in the kingdom of Bastion. Though many have tried, only vampires have achieved to fit into a substantial and viable law of the realm. All of which by one of their own that they fear above all else in the world, whose motives are as unclear as the beast himself. He still rules the Knights of Bastion. This reading has been reviewed and approved for select audiences only through the proper channels of request, through the offices of he that embodies the aforementioned offices above. Failure or neglect of respectfully following the aforementioned request will leave the offending party at the absolute mercy of he who signs this writing. Signed by yours truly and ever remaining, Aaron Roman. And there we have it, the Law of the Beast as written by yours truly. A story set in a dark fantasy world that is still in the making. Hello Cindy and welcome back to the stream. I hope you gave Rocky my best. Duchess of Darkness also, hello, welcome to the backup of the backup of the previous stream, because guess what? It crashed again! This time it's a software error. I'm still figuring out what exactly that error is, but we're here now. We are not going to breathe another word about it. So, chat, now that the entire story is told, do give me your thoughts. Do give me your thoughts, favorite parts, notes, feedback, by all means. I'm still an aspiring writer, not an actual one. I do notice I triple a lot over the words of my own stories. I don't know why that is, but it happens. Dreadful has joined us as well. Hello, Dreadful. And also thank you for the bravo, sir. Cindy says, I did say hello, but I don't think he saw it. Well, that happens. He does have a more busier stream than I do. Shrubby. Performance liable, that right there. Like your mind moves faster than your words. Yeah, you have no idea how much that resonates with me, Shrubby. You have no idea. Like, it's... I said it in previous streams. Sometimes I have like 5 thoughts happening in my head, but only one mouth to say it. That's unbelievable. But yeah, I do get where you're coming from. I'm gonna sip. Another sip. Oh my god, I need the sips today. Always stay hydrated, folks. It's mucho importante to always drink a little bit of water. At least 1.5 liters a day. I also really should be doing what I preach, but yeah, water doesn't have any taste, but still, you need it. You need it. Good lord, that did good. Shrubby. Thank you for censoring yourself there in the chat, Shrubby. Well played, sir. Well played. Drink other beverages. I'd love to, but I don't have any other beverages at the moment. I still have to go to the store. Otherwise, happy. I did notice in the story I made a few mistakes with words that actually should not be there, and words I forgot to place in, so I had to improvise on the spot there. Michelle Grimm, all beverages have water in it, so... good point. There's always a percentage of water in every beverage. Is there? Hold on. That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question, though. What beverage has no water in it? I almost want to say yogurt, but, you know, that's not a beverage. Right? No, it isn't. That's the pudding. Okie dokie. Time for another... Alright then, since Chad is not going to answer my initial questions, which is fine, I get that. I'm gonna set up another poll. So, do you guys want to hear another shorter story pertaining this particular character, Aaron Roman? Or shall we move on to a creepypasta next? I'm not including the Reddit story because, you know, I've noticed Reddit is not really a kid. It's not really a thing. But here we go. I'm making the poll right now. Creepypasta or phone writing. And here you are, chat. Go ahead and make your decision in the poll. Michelle says, that story was brilliant, by the way. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Remind me to edit that when I put it on the blog as well. As I said, this one does require some more editing, but then again, it's a story I haven't touched in almost 3 years by now, before I even paused the blog. Oh, it's... Wow, 7 votes already. Jesus, you folks are quick. Aye, aye, Captain, says Michelle. Thank you for that. The shrubby, it's like a slime goop. What? I'm confused. Oh, previous there. So Shrubby said in the previous chat that liquid-like substance... God, why? That liquid-like substance that people drink with a water allergy. It's like a slime goop. I mean... Granted. Then again, if it's slime, is it a beverage? I don't know, that sounds more like a pudding to me. Like custard. It sounds more like a custard to me, really. Like or a jelly, you know? I don't know, I don't know, does that apply as drinking substance? Eight votes in the poll, by all means. You want to know, yeah? You want to know what is good doctor going to read? I have no idea what that accent is. Don't ask. Don't ask. I'm in a very silly mood. Okay. Oh, 10 votes. All right. So far, it's 4 people going for creepypasta and 6 people going with own writing. Well, okay then. Okay then, let me then just go ahead and prepare the next writing, I suppose. If I sound reluctant, well, I'm still a little nervous. Like, it's my own right. It's the first time I actually do this for the public, you know? I mean, I've read them before in a previous live stream, like months ago. But still. Yeah. So the story that I've selected to read, before I do that, let me have another look at the chat. 10 votes. Michelle Grimm sounded German and Russian. No, I said don't talk about the accent I just did. Like I said, I was in a silly mood. Leave me alone. Enough silliness. Let's see. Creepypasta, own writing. Alright, got it. I'm going to end the poll in 1 minute. So if you haven't voted for creepypasta or own writing, now is your chance. Michelle Grimm. Oops. Well, yeah, it happens. I forgive you. I forgive you, Michelle. Because this is your first time in the stream, I forgive you. It is fine. All is fine. Kitty cat in the background is singing the songs of her people. Nobody wanted to know that, Vici. Yet here we are. I don't know why. Why am I getting all these notifications from Facebook of all things? Who cares about Facebook? Jesus. Right, I'm gonna end the poll. There we go. Poll has ended. Own writing 1, with 6 people voting yay, and creepypasta, where people voted also, well, 4 people voted also yay, but unfortunately the own writings won. So without further ado, another story pertaining the character Aaron Roman. Or at least where he is featured, not having a back... I don't want to say too much, but basically the character of Aaron Roman is not meant to be on the forefront of the story. You'll see what I mean with this one. This one is called The Apprentice of the Beast. And you will notice that I will refer to Roman as the Beast in these writings, because, well, that's what he is. A sophisticated one, but still a beast. Let us begin. Westgate has long been a haven for tradesmen, adventurers, and clandestine mages and outlaws. Before and after the city-state dominion, it prospered as the gateway between East and West. Its central position made wealth for many guilds, including the Horizon Guild. Its walls meant awe and impressions upon visitors. Carvings bright and colorful to shine under the warm sun, and lush gardens hung and grew on the roofs of its houses and palaces. Far and wide were its markets and squares for the many curiosities brought from all corners of Tyagion, which in turn attracted many folk from the east and west, where 2 worlds met. Before the reign of Shivaran the Dreaded in the Heartlands, that would be the ruler of the old empire in the previous story, Westgate was governed by a merchant's council, 6 individuals chosen to lead by the local guilds, and preferably from different chapters. Of the 6, 1 woman wielded this power with the sophistication of the West and the mercilessness of the East. So powerful an influence, she dared one side of her dark oaken hair and brown hair to be kept in braids like heathen druids of old, while keeping long and flowing on the other side. Uncommon but not unheard of, her skin was more fair and light like disturbed snow plains in winter. I have no idea where the hell I came up with that. A sign of the northern lineage that long migrated to these lands since the rise of Morakshir. A pure bloodline, not yet muddied by lesser mingling. A single strain of silver, she dyed her hair on its loose side to enforce that proud lineage, and she'd wear venomous green dresses complementing her slim figure, embroidered with silver edges like eagle wings. Larissa Strigia. Kitty cat, please no. Larissa Strigia, the Emerald of the East. Every election that came, she maintained her seat. Every power struggle she orchestrated, every foe forgotten. Soon, with approval of frightened lawmen and bought loyalties from the trade guilds, she ruled solely over Westgate and controlled much of the traffic between the Heartlands and the farther Eastlands. Kitty cat, please don't do that anymore. It scared the crap out of me, despite me being silent. The domed palace with its maroon roofs and ivory towers became her home, and her influence even held a chokehold on the ever-powerful Horizon Guild. Larissa's hold was so absolute that not even Sanshiran's mighty city-state dominion dared spread further eastward. The Strigii family had been diminished in her youth to near extinction by assumed rivals among the other notable merchants. One bloody night of snakes... One bloody night of snakes, knives, and poisoned wares. Larissa never sought retaliation for the act, but did use it to see her will done. One dared not point a finger to another, and order was kept to her desire. all that garnered the attention of another one. Not one ethereal nor celestial, and certainly not of the Daigorim. This was one that dwelled in the night, for it loathed the light of the sun, feasting on the life force of others to maintain his own. A beast attracted to power, so to expand it. Arriving in Westgate with fog to smother the sunlight, he presented himself as a mentor to Lady Stygia. His courtier ways had no sway over her, nor his amorous words that would enamor others into listening. Blood-Eye relished the challenge, and with permission was allowed to stay in Westgate to advise Larissa, only and ever if she would summon him. Kitty cats, roughhousing. Though people did disappear at this time, they were usually criminals and enemies to Lady Stygia, and one day showed gratitude by hearing him out once during summer. He told her of ways to grow her personal might through rituals that even the Western Empire has no knowledge of, to influence the minds of others and cull all that defied her without actual bars or leashes, even hold the very air as her own. All rather useful, but Larissa inquired if one need not be sensitive like mages and fairies, after the word farai in the old Eastern tongue for the elves. Not at all, precious jewel, he said. The power of all things lies in blood, yet it need not be consumed, only used. His toothy grin and eyes of hunger betrayed his nature as clearly as his words, but there was no word yet for what he was. In the East, such things that should be dead yet walk are called gulin, but those who are moving, rotting corpses, preying on the living with no control of their bestial urges. Very much unlike this man. Tell me, darling creature, what would you have me do with the blood of others? Serve it to you in a bowl. My cats could use such company with them. She pointed to the lions and tigers, waiting for her command. But her pets dared not gaze upon Blood-Eye, his presence now draining the warmth around them. Your playful threats have no weight on me, dearest jewel. Know why the darkness always prevails in knowledge over the uninspired strength of the light. For we of the dark are not afraid of our emotions, rather we embrace them, from the highest peaks of joyous ecstasy to the deepest fissures of despair. Undeterred, we seek out all things hidden and travel paths others dare not. We go where all power unknown lies, yet is feared by the destructive masses that do not desire to understand it. Darkness is only for those that determine their own fate rather than leaving fate to determine yours. In union with the living void, we are the select ones that refuse to be guided by other powers and pull them instead. You were brought into this world to forge your own destiny, to learn what lies in the darkness and use it as you desire. All you need to have is one willing to teach. Such lessons were tempting, yet a prize for her alone to discover. A chance to shape one's own destiny, a lure to all mortal kind. Larissa accepted Blood-Eye's teachings, and he admired her defiant spirit even then, calling her lioness at some points, which also referred to her choice of pets. Mosquito. Go away, mosquito. I will murder you. unalive you. Excuse me, YouTube. I will unalive Mosquito. Westgate's, Westgate's dungeons soon had prisoners missing, and various dubious elements in and around the city disappeared, as well yet some swore to hear cries in Lady Stygia's halls. Rituals belonging to unspoken ancients and blood sacrifices to Baven, even Blood-Eye seemed impressed with Larissa's initiative. She felt a further east. What? She felt a further east? Ah, no, I got what she meant here. Okay, I was confused by my own words. She felt a further eastland, which Blood-Eye encouraged to pursue, but he warns that Larissa may no longer rule, yet become more than just a ruler. Soon she travelled to the mysterious pull eastward and arrived at the Sarakan forest. Decades she spent communing with the beasts and energies there, combining Blood-Eye's teachings with the elements of nature. Rumours soon circulated of a fell druidess dwelling there. No longer did Blood-Eye guide her, seeing her own path could be crafted by her own hand now. Dwelling in the great eastern forest, there was no branch, root, moss or rock Larissa did not know. An occasional seduced adventurer or explorer would provide the sustenance she needs for her crafts. The beasts within these woods obeyed her and even brought them to her lair. But no teaching or communing could withhold death indefinitely, and Larissa longed to see more than what she was offered. She knew the ways of prolonging life, but the longer they are taken, the more frequent they must be performed. Already did Westgate long assume her dead, possibly even killed by the very druidess of Sarakan, and they reverted to the merchant circle for ruling. At some point, Westgate succumbed to Sanchiran, becoming a territory of the city-state dominion. Drawing her blood sigil, Larissa hoped to draw Blood-Eye to her, but after another decade, she left Sarakan to seek out her old mentor and his secret to precious immortality. Sanguine flashing storms carried his voice as she ventured northward, intending on going to uncharted lands beyond the ice-run vein. Elven patrols of Valmarai kept watch on the forest, so Larissa formed herself into a wandering lioness, finding a certain amusement in evading them. Passing the eastern edges of the Fair End Woods, named after the elven burial grounds there, Larissa returned to a fairer form and travelled onward to the last northern stronghold of the new western kingdom of Bastion, Heloth. Mocking winds of the mountains blew from the north as she approached Heloth, nestled against the plagued barrier range. Its carved-out walls and short yet strong towers betrayed a dwarven design, integrated with a great keep like a cathedral, a more human touch which befitted the veteran garrison there. This was the last sign of civilization anyone in all of Taiagion knew about in the far north, for none that scaled the mountains ever returned, the only lands that remained unmapped. Another call from Blood-Eye in the sky to travel further than any before, over the mountains. Over the same mountains. Bound for the coldest lands of Taiagion, Larissa climbed the plague barrier range as a human, but on her descent was stung by a diseased flesh fly. The pain of a forged blade paralyzed her arm, but she pressed, determined to find where he was calling from. Entering the Black Veil, she felt watched by the very deadness of the place. It was named for the strange twilight and dancing violet lights that shone upon this desolate piece of land. Yet none, as Larissa knew, reported those observations back south, therefore black as an unknown. Crooked and jagged rocks and lifeless trees and bushes seeping poisoned thorns threatened her steps as did the many hidden crevices that called out her name. Winged shadows circled above, waiting for her flesh to fail. And then the highest walls of mists rolled before her sight. Larissa made it to the plateaus of terror. Uncharted lands not even touched by dreams and nightmares. The light of the sun was unknown and never touched here as the gloomy night was ever present. Icy deadlands that whispered one's shame and regrets and reflected it in the cold desolation. A land covered with peaks of curved ice and sharp as swords and spears. The air was thin, yet thick with unease. Hearing the northern seas chaotically bashing at the coast like 1,000 rams against stalwart mountains of steel, thunder carried the wailing of the damned, and the mists hid malicious shapes following the druidess's every step. Camping, nightmares of failure and disappointment plagued to edges of depression. The flesh fly's venom festered and blistered her once fair skin. 7 days of agonies passed like years. A sense of time would be a luxury here. Then in the distance, there it was. A great citadel of black, oily rock surrounded by numerous crooked spires of madness, like the world's tentacles hardened by age, bowing to its dark majesty, crowned with constant crimson lightning from the permanent storm above, and circled by the same scaly creatures that once followed her. Pale lights of the dead rivaling the moon upon its ruined walls, built with a cruel and ancient contempt. A lake of shrieks covered by poisonous mists that even banshees would not venture near. Some foreboding sense of undenying doom demanded to be felt, and none could deny that from their hearts. A desolate place avoided even by demons. Nordundalon, the Eldritch City. Larissa's mind and body no longer could withhold the auras arrayed against her, and distant flutes drew her to a black-visioned sleep. Faded glimpses of black-hooded figures with either no faces or painted ones. She was carried in the arms of another, yet Larissa lacked the strength to lift her head. The sharpened nail she knew to belong to only one, before sleep took her once more. A pair of words from a familiar voice, "Awaken, lioness," as she found herself within a grand chamber of spiky torches with sanguine fires flaring. The ceiling was too high to see the fully massive pillars that rose into blackness, and in the distance there were tribunes filled with these hooded figures chanting in a language unknown to the world. Swirls of red mist stretched out like tentacles and slammed the ground before her feet. Great flames arose that lighted the throne behind them. As terrible as it was artful, a monument to the unspoken sins of creation, as it was a virtue to the shapeless horrors of the void. There sat Blood-Eye, dressed as a western nobleman, in a crimson and fine outfit with a black shoulder mantle designed like a bat's wing, holding and swirling a crystal glass of blood. With a sip, he welcomed the jewel of the East into the soul of the North. Here he offered Larissa the reward she sought, absolution from death's grip, to exist further like him as a vampire but outside the societies. The perfect vampire, to be Amarfi. For only the living or the dying could be turned. An offer he did not make unto others, as none he took an interest in made a perilous journey here, and most that did became the slouching citizens of Nurdundalon, weak-willed to be commanded or met their doom in the stretch of terror. All undead followers but decayed and sentient. Oh, I forgot a word there. All undead followers decayed but remained sentient. She nevertheless accepted, so travel and spent time was not for naught. That's a weird sentence. I have to look into that. Larissa moonbathed while receiving the ambrosiac kiss of the vampire, while submerged in the blood of virgin innocence. Long she dreamt, and her spirit was set before the living, shapeless horror outside of creation. A nameless being that long ate and absorbed the elder things that lived there first. Long forgotten and unknown, but long forgotten and unknown to but select few celestials, at least those not driven to madness for knowing. The first light, still so pure that its brightness was beyond comprehension, and became the black that consumes all other black, and yet seared like a universe filled with suns. More ancient than Mother Life and Father Death, and a timeless rage as the mere thought of those two. Larissa was bare before it, and in turn became bare before her. She was to be an anchor for its influence, like Blood-Eye. It may not even remember what it was or why it's in the void, or perhaps was the void, but Larissa knew this thing always was, is, and will be. At least once she dared inquire when the lamentations and howling of immeasurable suffering across all realities became bearable after what seemed centuries. A secret even A secret even the history of our world had willingly forgotten, the very origin of Blood-Eye himself. Eyes like numerous worlds knew of her intent, and laughter stretching more than one universe was amused as rhymed prophecies were hurled against her. Knowledge that drove even higher spirits into the deepest pits of madness, Larissa absorbed until finally they released her, pleased for the colors she wields. Her inner fires now blazing with a forgotten and purest mind. Whispering soft and breathless, the last words he heard were a repetition, a promise, and a lesson all in one. Remember why we are more powerful than the lesser parasites, Larissa, because we are not afraid to feel. We embrace the full spectrum of emotions to forge our masks, from the heights of transcendent joy to the depths of hatred and despair. Fearless, we welcome whatever path this darkness sets us on. Therefore, I can't have your will tempered by feelings of regret or compassion from your mortal past. You were brought into being to lead. Therefore, you must view every living being as a tool to elevate you, to move you to your destined ascension. That is our world, Larissa. Our delicious reality. For the void is only for those who value self-determinism over all else that life offers, focusing on the acquisition of power. Descended from its deepest blackness, we are the select few who refuse to be carried by destiny and carry it instead. Yet the future is not a river, but it will be an ocean in which you drown if you are not prepared. If willing to sacrifice, one can have anything. Weariness set. Wait, what? I admit that's a wrong sentence here. Weariness beset her body, yet her mind and spirit remained as vigil as one should be when facing one that wallows in death. And Roman continued, "You are heartless, ambitious, arrogant, devious, and without shame of empathy. More, you're a murderer. The true self within you, now and forevermore, a lioness." Larissa remembered the many secrets she shared once with Blood-Eye, including her darkest of all, and a thought occurred, this may not have been on her own volition. The soft shining eyes of dim burgundy leering into her, being complimented her suspicion. Wait, I've a wrong intonation, hold on. The soft shining eyes of dim burgundy leering into her, being complimenting her suspicions. She was glamoured to share. His smile widened as a father would comfort a daughter. Blood-Eye went on to his final words before the weariness took her fully, her body succumbing at last to it. "I am not your teacher. I am your torturer, Larissa. You will make every effort to appease me. So appease me, Larissa, and tell me again how you murdered them." His last words echoed as her dreams began and ended the same way until her waking moment. The murder of her family, with no exception to age nor gender. She made herself the last of her line, the last that should rule. A month passed before Larissa woke again into a new existence. According to Blood-Eye, that was rather fast for a turning. He tutored her further into being an Amath and craft from the void, first and purest of the darkness. Then, after centuries of tutelage with passion and hate, she left without warning or notions while Blood-Eye slept. Deciding she could do without her mentor now, Larissa took tomes and scrolls with her, written by her master himself. Secrets of the Undead, the Book of Lichdom, of Vermin and Familiars, Guide to Necromancy, Catalogue of Beasts Mystical, Altered Perceptions, Recovered Legends and Artifacts, Rudimentations of Chorus, and many more within a stolen endless bag, one he once claimed to have been a simple gift from a traveling merchant of the roads with queer eyes. Larissa kept these within her lair in Sarakan. Mocking the short-sighted elves of near Val Marai, she made her abode in the greatest tree there, hollowed and dead, and fashioned it into her own mansion. Although the broodmothers of the giant spiders did not abide her presence, Larissa soon drafted them into servitude. As the world grows older, more people will travel here from them to consume and still have enough to suit her own needs. Yet Master Blood-Eye did not pursue her. He already possessed what she took, but again, while insulted, was once again impressed and wondered what paths the future held for them. Larissa knew Blood-Eye always hunted for power in every form, even if it was beneath him, which hinted to other goals. Larissa was however determined to find out what Blood-Eye schemed within that dreaded place, yet she dared not return there. Something older than the world spoke in Nurdundalon, something not of creation. At times, Larissa would cross paths with her old mentor on her own travels, his presence unmistakable, although now he named himself Aaron Roman and mingled with lords and nobles like arranging cattle in a tidy slaughterhouse. If goals aligned, they cooperate, such as pursuits of knowledge, which they shared at the end. At times they were opposing forces, as Roman would say for centuries. Immortality is rather tedious without a few games and tenacious adversaries. Unconnected with humanity, Larissa never could abide Roman's practice of using children in his feedings, schemes, and rituals. Yet of all things, Larissa made Roman promise that the Saracen forest would be left untouched by his influence. That was to be her absolute domain, like the uncharted Northlands was his. A small promise to him, but well timed, as he had plans in the western kingdom of Bastion, since the empire was long overthrown. Something Larissa would turn her gaze to the next time the Druids of Saracen ventured forth. If she ventures forth. Her own findings on what lies in the far north she had written down and published under different names, each a guide of different perceptions. Only in recent times were official reports made by townships and patrolmen. Since House Alderland's recent war with San Shiran and the traitors of House Estral, all the lands west of Saracen were now sovereign territory of the western kingdom of Bastion. These reports detailed an ominous presence in and around Saracen forest, one that formed as a lonely lioness with a blood-red maw and paws and a stealer of people along the roads and villages near the great forest. Although many rightly thought it was the druidess of old, it was believed she became one of the woods. She became one with the woods and became its ward. In truth, her new existence demanded sustenance at least once a month. At least one witness described a beautiful barefooted woman blessed by moonlight, draped in scarce robes of fur and leaves with a crown of griffin feathers. Red, but more inclined towards oaken brown hair with a side of braids and one flowing elegantly over a shoulder and thighs like a living veil. This same witness went missing not a week later, drawn by songs and music into Saracen. The hunt was thrilling. Mages and detachments of warlocks were sent, but never seen or heard from again. Some villages and holdouts even left offerings, like the elves would, to the bound ones for their peace. Offerings and sacrifices for the Red Lioness. And there we have it, Apprentice of the Beast, written by yours truly in a dark fantasy setting. There we are. That's done. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of this particular telling? Do let me know in the comments. Or in the chat. To anyone that's just joining the stream, welcome. Let me just have a little look-see. Angel, welcome, hello. Thank you for the quick hello. welcome. Jinxie says, I'm sorry, my phone died. Oh, well, we'll have a talk about that later. I'm going to take a little sip here. Did notice that This is also one of the stories that require editing. At least all of my stories require editing. I haven't touched it in like 2 years, so 2 to 3 years, some of them. So yeah, requires editing, words missing and whatnot. Hey, look at that, we're almost 2 hours in and the stream has not crashed. Would you look at that? But I am having a dry throat though. I should have taken a break in between. Duchess of Darkness. That was excellent, Doctor. Thank you, Duchess. Thank you. Thank you for that. I don't know if you were in the stream, Duchess, but I did say that, well, I was heavily considering returning to writing in this dark fantasy setting. Just kind of looking for proofreaders, if you will, if I'm going to return, because it always helps to have proofreaders, because, you know, more sets of eyes do a lot more than just one pair. So to anyone that feels inclined, I do have a link tree in the description. You can email me there or contact me on my other socials if you're interested, or if you have stories yourself you wish to share and want me narrated. Want me to narrate. Jesus, English. Hard language. I kinda underestimated how many pages there were in this particular story. Like, I just took a quick glance, and I thought it said 3. I was like, okay, I can do 3 pages. It was 7. I don't know how I confused 3 with 7. Yeah. Michelle Grimm. Friggin' awesome. Loved learning about Larissa. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Yes, Larissa is a character I've only made once in this story. It's the story. She is meant to come in the main story as well, but I'm not sure to what extent yet. So this is one of those things that I need to think about. But yes, let's call her morally grey, but inclined to be very selfish. Oh well, she killed her own family. I don't know. That's kind of over morally grey, I think. Little bit. God, my throat is sore. Oh god, this is 9 pages. No, let's not do that one. I do have another Roman story, but that's over 45 pages long, and that's not one that is going to be told here. Maybe in parts, but in another live stream, not today. Oh, I thought this one was shorter, but apparently I doubled it. Oh, never mind that one too. Jesus. God damn, I was active back then. Sometimes I underestimate myself. And, well, that doesn't actually surprise me. Oh, here's a fun one. So I do have another story which does pertain the place that was described where Roman lives. Before it was all dark and corrupty and eldritchy like that. Dark grey or bright black suspicion. Yes, I mean, yes. Alright, you have a good night, Angel. So Angel just said to Duchess that she is good, and now she is sorry to go, but she does have to go to bed. She works very early tomorrow, so good night, good day, everyone. Again, you have a good night, Angel, and have a good rest. And and success in your job, of course. There we go. I just got a text that one of my friends is out of surgery, and while in pain, he is doing fine as well. Good. I was actually kind of worried there. Kitty cat, what are you doing? No, we don't do that. Careful. We don't want that here. No, no. Don't do shenanigans. Again, I have no idea what that accent was. I think Germanish, but yeah, sorry to Germans that are watching this. So sorry for that accent, Germany. Michelle, I'm glad your friend is doing well. Yeah, he's doing extremely well. It was not a major surgery by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, you never know what may happen then and there, right? Once again, have a good night, Michelle. Angel, wow, wow, that clicked like a few seconds later, like, wait, hold on, it's not Michelle saying good night. I'm sorry, Angel, have a good night again. We'll see each other again. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is, let's say a short 5-minute break here, just so I can do my little stretchies. Normally I do 1 break per hour, and we have been going on for about almost 2 hours. So I really need to stretch and have to have a little bit of a drink. So let's say we see each other here again in 5 minutes. I think that's a fair break time. Stretchies and drinkies indeed. Jinxie indeed. I might... Wait, hold on. 5 minutes... Actually, let's make that 10 minutes, because, again, it's been 2 hours and I really need to go move a little and drink. So let's make that... You know what? Nah. You know what? Nah. I'm just gonna keep it between 5 and 10. Just gonna put in break time. I'll be back in between 5 to 10 minutes. Just having a bit of a stretchy stretch. And hopefully when I change the screen, the stream won't crash. Oh, let's hope. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll either see you in 5 to 10 minutes, or if the stream crashes, I'll see you in the next stream. So, with that all said, let's see what the dices have decided when I change screens on the software. And see you when we see you. I'm not gonna lie, that actually did me some good. Hello, and I am back, ladies and gentlemen, from my break. To newcomers of the stream, welcome to a live stream with DrTorment. I also run a Spotify podcast, which you can visit via the link below. If you wish to support me and the channel in furthering what we want to do here, by all means, I also have a Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon links in that same link tree, as well as following on socials such as Instagram, Twitter X, or Facebook if you are so inclined. But honestly, who uses Facebook anymore? That's between us. To anyone that has stuck around, I am back, as I said, and ready to read some more. I've, as you can see, put up a little poll during the break. I thought it would be a fun little thing to do if people were still here. And let's see, so far one vote going for poem. Oh, another vote going to own writing again. Okie dokie. Ooh, it's neck on neck. And nobody likes creepypastas today. Nobody likes a creepypasta today. Poor creepypasta. The funny thing is that it has been a while since I did a creepypasta on the channel itself. I should really get back into that one day. 2 votes going for poem. Oh, I was almost thinking to end the vote there, but this might still be interesting. So whoever has not yet casted their vote, by all means, do so now. Oh, it's going to 50-50 again. Oh, another one going. No, yes, no, going for... Ooh, neck on neck once again. Don't worry about it, Cindy. So Cindy says, I voted for creepypasta before, but it lost. Yeah, I get that, but yeah, that's why we have the polls. So people can decide. I was actually thinking creepypasta too, but because I have several tabs open with creepypasta stories, but in the end, we do have to do what the poll tells us to do. Oh. Is that another vote? Yes, it is. There's another vote. Oh, don't know. What is it with you? What is so... And I have to ask, chat, please. What is so good that you want to listen to more of my writings? Like, call it me, like, self-deprecating on myself, sure, but I'm genuinely curious. What is it? It can't be that good, right? Like, by no means do I think of myself as a master writer or something like that. Just waiting for chat to respond. Because I'm genuinely curious, chat. I'm genuinely curious. I actually thought Poem would win this time. I actually thought I had the Raven ready and everything. But, you know, it's always been a tradition on my streams nowadays that when the stream does end, I'll give up a little Edgar Allan Poe poem anyway. So a poem will always be coming. But chat, seriously, my writing can't be this good. It can't be that good. Again, self-deprecation perhaps, but maybe, but still. Let's see. Oh, I got a little mail from YouTube. Oh, that's bloody wonderful. What is it on YouTube that I got the mail for? Let me have Ah, yes. So, on my channel, there is a video called Greg that I've recently re-uploaded on an RRS feed because it's a podcast episode now. And basically, what happened there, like, it got copyright claimed because apparently the ending of it, which is a plane crash and people screaming, by the way, is claimed to be copyrighted material for a music bit. Which I find very disturbing music if that is truly the music. So the copyrighted content is Geronimo claimed by The Orchard Music. And the copyright again is literally plane crashing sounds with people screaming in sheer terror. This is a music copyright I currently have on one of my videos called Greg for the podcast playlist. Like, unbelievable. They reviewed the copyright claim I put in yesterday for it, and they're like, nah, we still claim the copyright claim is valid. Like, what is going on inside your heads if that is your music? Absolutely ridiculous. I'll dispute this later. Absolutely ridiculous, these unknown studios with their unknown music. Michelle Grimm. It's a new story we haven't heard before, and it's really fascinating, and you describe the characters and place so vividly, it's like we are there. Or at least that's how it is for me. Well, thank you. Thank you, Michelle, for that. I'll have a little bit of clarification on it. Let me have a look at the poll again. Yes, once. Michelle Grimm, what genre of music is that? I wish I knew, but I actually had a look at their music and what specific music clip they are referring to. So it has nothing to do with plane crashes and people screaming in sheer terror that they call music. It's actually a bit of a jitty, generic song that's very bland and unimpressive. You know, like summer vibes and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. I have no idea why they think that's copyrighted from one of their works, but again, I'll dispute that tomorrow, not today. Right, 6 votes up, 50% of it are six votes, correct? Yes, 6 votes up, 50% going for own writing, and 33% going for poem, 1% for creepypasta. How does that even function, that percentage? Never mind that. Right, so I'm going to end the poll here. Own writing, once again, 1. Did not expect that. Michelle did clear up as to the why. But yeah, still. Alrighty then, own writing it is. Let me just have another look. I honestly thought poem would win this one. Okay. But then again, for the poem lovers, do not worry, because the end of the stream will always have an Edgar Allan Poe poem. You know what? Yes, let's do Darkening of the North. So if you have listened to the previous story, The Apprentice of the Beast, there is a place called Nordundalon. And this is basically the origins of that city. So without further ado, The Darkening of the North. Now, lucky for me, it's also about 3 pages, so it's not that long, but still. And there's a cat in the background meowing, because of course there's a cat in the background meowing. Focus. Long ago, in an age when Teagion was recovering from the battle of sundering between the divine champion Lucenfer and the abhorred brother, there was a... Oi! Yes. Hi. Hey, a little attention-seeking princess. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Kitty Cat decided to walk into the room and sing the song of her people, as she does. Yes, indeed. Disturbing me right in my reading, you little whippersnapper. What was I? Right, I have to start over from this. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Darkening of the North. Please do not make another sound. Long ago, in an age when Tayagion was recovering from the battle of sundering between the divine champion and the abhorred brother, there was a magnificent city in the far north, untouched by the troubles and marring of the world, and its splendor was never again seen or heard of. Silver walls and towers that dared touch the heart of the heavens above, great fountains that sprang rivers outside from their canals, sitting in a verdant valley of peace and plenty. A vast city that bloomed like a crystal flower of winter. Called Sarandalon, or Heavenly Place, the Magnificent. The city was home to a collection of known and lost people, all gathering and remaining where they woke since the days of birth, except for man, who still dwelt in the far lost west before their exodus. Life here was one of happiness and no care, their rulers chosen not by competition, but through elections to who was adored and wisest among them for years until the seat was granted to another, often still advised by a ring of elders, those elected before. They had once set up an outpost or fortress of some kind in the west, as seen by the unknown ruins standing upon the Crooked Hook. Roofs of garden and plazas of arches and pillars, wealth rose like grass in spring, and none lived poorly within Sarandalon. What few weapons and armor they crafted as badges of officers to their most esteemed, Hey, what are you trying to do? My leg is not a scratching post. Jesus. What weapons and armor they crafted as badges of office to their most esteemed were highly sought after well within the ages to come. Such was their craft to be untouched by time and just as deadly when used. Their realm was all that lay in the north, and cold did not touch the land there. With such great and undisputed territory, the northern cultures then were known to be warm and caring in these elder days, as war and conflict had not yet been set upon their minds, and they were content with what they had. As for the people living here, the old ones, they mirrored animals of the wild that learned to walk on their hind legs and formed their own language, which they shared with the first elves. Blessed with endless life and spared from diseases, they devoted themselves to wisdom and learning. A child of theirs could easily match an old scholar from the lesser people. At the height of Sarandalon's splendor, the people decided to erect a great tower to tribute the powers that gifted them this wondrous life, and so construction of the citadel began. So massive was this undertaking, folk turned grey and old as their children and their children after. For many years, while the looming construction pierced the clouds and rivaled the mountains, the people abandoned it, as they thought no such worldly structure is enough to please the powers beyond. There it stood like a headless and crownless colossus over people less than ants in its grand standing. One day, a queer-eyed individual and his companions, one that had red fleshings of his own, and one tall and cloaked from the light of the sun, entered the city. The queer-eyed one introduced himself as a humble merchant, drawn in by the tales of splendor and wonder. Not like his bitter cold companions, whose lingering starvation lightened their daunting eyes as unnerving to most. Claiming to be of a race not yet landed in these parts of the world, they promised the people to finish their wondrous monument in a single night. Mocking the merchant in particular, the old ones scolded them until one elder heard them out on the promise. They would finish the work of Sarandalon's past generations so long as the red-eyed man could choose his own home within the walls. The salesman, however, simply desired the elder's ring as an assurance that the agreement would be met. Such jewelry carried a heavier weight than all the wealth and influence of the elder and his people. To possess it is to possess the city. At first, there was a heavy doubt, yet the desires of the crowd pushed that away, and the elder surrendered his ring. An agreement had been struck. Asking why the salesman would not want a home himself, the man simply said he was more at home on the road than kept between walls. Night fell sooner than day, and crept like a dark poison in the air. Chill winds howled as if sung by the damned. The sun never shone upon these lands again. The very stones of the unbuilt citadel glittered a pale, ghostly, bluish light, and an unseen bell tolled for the labor of the salesman. Stone upon stone, wall upon wall, the citadel rose as the bell tolled. It kept growing until its splendid crowned top grazed the night's dark clouds, and it commanded them to swirl around the structure like a mantle of coldness. For the old beast folk, it was the greatest miracle to ever behold. But for the tall companion that the salesman left there, it meant doom for those who dwelled in Sarandalon. For the red-eyed one, it spelled opportunity unexplored. Their morning was greeted by a dense fog, creeping like tendrils in every path and home, and it brought winter's cold embrace in summer. Never did the sun break through the stormy clouds above, all of which whirling around their beloved citadel. It was then that the salesman was spotted sitting on the rooftop of the elder he struck the bargain with. He jumped off effortlessly, like a child would hop off a fence, and demanded just payment for his services, but instead was scolded more by the elder for what befell their fair city. Assuming it was nothing more but a parlor trick that could be removed when he had what he wanted, the salesman demanded nothing more than the time of all the good folk in Sarandalon. Confused about the payment, the elder refused and banished the salesman for his strange trickery. Smiling and sighing with a faint disappointment, the salesman whistled an odd but particular tune as he walked out the city gates. This tune was carried in the air and accompanied any desperate enough for his services, or when he was near ever since. Yes. His two associates explained they were but mere traveling companions from the western shores, but the elder said they were allowed one night of sanctuary, and then must leave as well, for they would be a reminder of the day he struck his deal with this odd merchant. The young hours of the night had barely begun before rumoring whispers turned to horrified screams as a mass of the old beast folk marched solemnly towards the citadel as if beckoned by its strange bells. They all had the same rosy color in their eyes, the same that the salesman flashed as he shook hands with the elder. None made it to the gates to flee the influence of the bells, all tolling the same tune as the salesman's whistling. This fair folk, who once taught the elves language and culture, would be nothing but a shapeless memory to all but the oldest beings in the world. Even then, a fruitless effort. There was one who was not enthralled by the bells, however. One, by the will of another, was left alone to witness the downfall of his people. Barricading his home, the elder chanted forgotten spells to ward himself, though he knew it had no purpose. He heard the crunch of a bitten fruit nearby, and again found the salesman eating a pear while tossing the elder's ring playfully like a coin. "Remember this day, my friend," the salesman said. "Remember the day you wronged me. All I wished was for a slice of time. Now I take it all. You will remain with my gift of deathlessness, bound to a hole below." Severe agreed, but so was insulting me after my labor was done. With a sense of ceremony, the salesman then drank a bottle of wine in one gulp and smashed it to the ground, a custom he would enforce since that day. Darkness surrounded the elder, and then found himself in a dimly lit library with books set in shelves carved into rocky walls. Deep below the ground, in the salesman's first layer, where books would appear describing every year. He had all the ancient knowledge he could never depart unto another. We know nothing of the fate of the old ones. Few ever return from the black veil beyond the mountains of Heloth, their minds rent from reason and sanity. Talking of husks of faded greatness, hollow slaves to a rising power in the shadows, is all that is known. The north became a land of Everwinter. Now Sarandalon the Magnificent was no more. What stands in its place is only known by the drawings of the surviving mad creatures. A broken citadel whose top defies any natural law of the world. Towers and roofs bend towards it like black spires bowing. Mists of dread rolling of a dead stream of ghostly waters. Serpentine eyes of blood looming over all beneath it. Sarandalon was dead. There now stands Nordundalon, the eldritch city, anchor of the void. And that was The Darkening of the North. Once again, a own little writing of mine on the origins of the city that our dear friend Mr. Aaron Roman, aka Master Bloodeye, lives in. And as if you have heard the text correctly, yes, he did have a companion, which is all described in another story of 45 pages, which I'm not going to read right now. Do give me your thoughts in the chat and comments, by all means, while I take another sip of my water. Ah, water is salvation. Always keep yourself hydrated, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you may have heard my cat also singing the songs of a people as I read. So, I've had people tell me, like, maybe just put her in another room. Here's the thing, I live in a duplex apartment. A rather big one, granted, but still a duplex apartment that has only 2 rooms with doors. The bathroom and the toilet. Both not big enough to put 3 cats in. That would be akin to animal abuse. Which, you know, I prefer not to subscribe to. So no, I'm not going to lock them up in the bathroom while I'm sitting here for like 3 to 4 hours. They can open the door, that's 1. And 2, even when the door is locked, they will jump at the handle. And that will make a lot more noise than just meowing. Ah, sip, sip. Sipper, sip. So yeah, on the origins of the Eldritch City from the 2nd story, what do you guys thought of this little telling? By all means, do be honest, I can take it, I'm a big boy. And if there are no further things, I'm just gonna make another poll here. This time I'm not going to include own writings, because I think 3 stories so far where basically the same characters in the background is more than enough. So, here we go. Next poll coming in. Oh. A little error in the chat, I see, because my poll doesn't want to come through. Is this a foreboding of something to happen? Oh, YouTube, I swear, if you're going to make this stream crash again, I will throw in a hissy fit. So, just so that everybody understands, I cannot see the live chat at this point. I don't know what's happening. The stream is still on. That's the good news. But, yeah, I'm not seeing the live chat at all, which is a little bit worrisome. So if I am suddenly disappearing, it'll probably be because YouTube decided to do another crashy crash, which, you know, we absolutely love on this channel. Like, is it visible for... I don't know, I should ask. I don't know why I should ask. I cannot even ask things. What have I changed to? Top chat. Does it do anything? I swear, kitty cat, please. No, 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 none of the singing of your people. We've had enough of that. Jesus. Right, so I'm not seeing any reactions on the screen. So I'm going to assume the chat is also dead for everyone, unless you can... Unless it's just me, by all means, ladies and gentlemen, if there's something wrong with the chat, and if you can type it, go ahead and type it in the chat. I will watch it from the live stream itself. Because with me it's still quote-unquote buffering. Oh, kitty cat is hissing. Yep, the kitty cats are fighting. That is terrific. Absolutely marvelous. There we go. Right, so I'm not seeing anything happening in the chat. So if something is going on, maybe comment instead of typing in the live chat here. I have no idea what's happening here, folks. I think YouTube is having their shenanigans up again. Let me just pull in another page here. It's just utterly ridiculous. Ah, here I am again. Am I back? Is the live stream still happening? Yes. Yes, it is. Alright, so I see the chat is active again. Oh, finally, I can see the chat again. Marvelous. Oh god, I was so afraid. I was so afraid another crash was imminent. Oh, I would not have survived that. Michelle says, well, it said my comment was too long. Basically, I love the story too, and wish it was all a book already, cause I want to explore this world you created. Excellent. Well, Michelle, you'll have the opportunity very, very soon. Jinxie goes hee hee. Well, fine for you that you find it funny, Jinxie. Hee hee. Duchess of Darkness. Hello, Duchess. Hello, welcome back. Basically what happened, Duchess, I was entirely blind. So I couldn't see what was happening in the chat. Like, the chat was completely not loading. I'm gonna risk and do another poll. I'm not going to include own writings. I believe we have had enough of that for now. For now, at least. And now I can resume with the original post before the problems with the chat began. So, what should the doctor read next? And the choices are once again, poem or creepypasta. Go ahead, chat, go nuts, and make your choice. An error occurred, try again. Are you kidding me, you two? Ay, 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 ay. Don't tell me you have to do this the old-fashioned way. Right, I'm gonna try one more time to make the poll. If it doesn't happen, we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. And I'll tell you what that is, if it doesn't wanna work. An error occurred, try again. Of course. Right. So, we're gonna have to do this vote the old-fashioned way. So what's going to happen? Very simple. Just voice in the chat what you want to hear. A poem or a creepypasta. Just say one of those two words and I'll count it as a vote. Whoever has the most wins. And by the way, everyone can only vote once. Jinxie, make a note of that, just in case. Duchess of Darkness goes poem. That's one for the poem camp. Ooh, Michelle, also remind me to make a note to send you some commissioned art that I had made for 2 characters. We'll be fine. Jinxie, make a note of what? Well, it was more of a saying, Jinxie, like everybody gets to say either creepypasta or poem once, as I'm doing the vote the old-fashioned way, which one of the two. That's basically it. Just keep an eye out that nobody is like doubling their words. That's basically it. Duchess says poem. Michelle says just read a creepypasta. So I'm gonna say Michelle goes for creepypasta. Got it. I prefer the good old way of voting, but No, we have to do it like this. Also, Jinx, yes, you can vote yourself which one you'd rather have. Just saying. I'm the one that doesn't get to vote. But that all said, Duchess, even if Creepypasta wins, there's always a poem at the end of the streams. And for you, I'll even make it a... I'll make it the Raven. How about that? The Raven or any other poem of your own choosing, by all means. But that's for the end of the stream, which will be after the next reading, whether Creepypasta or poem. Oh. Lo-Fi Cutie says creepypasta. Alright. Jinxie says crepe pasta. Alright. Pancake pasta for Jinxie it is. Fandom Ambient says poem. Alright, alright. Duchess says ravenous perfect. Okie dokie, Raven it is. I just pulled that one up for later already. The Raven. Can't go wrong with the classics. I think I don't really have the voice for the intonations of the Raven at this point with all the reading I've done, but that should be good. Jinxie. Pancake pasta would be better than the spaghetti I made. Yeah, I bet. The way you made your spaghetti, Jinxie, I'm sorry, but you really make me consider updating my block list. Like, oh my god, if I told this to any other Italian, oh, they would be so angry that I'm even friends with you. Jinxie, listen, I didn't make it for me. No, look, Jinxie, here's the thing. The fact that the way you made it was a choice, and the fact that you still made it, alright? Just pointing that out there. Ugh, silent Italian brooding happening. And hello to any newcomers in the stream. So what's currently happening for the newcomers? Basically, we're doing a manual poll in the chat whether to read a poem or a creepypasta, because the poll button doesn't want to work for me. It constantly says an error occurred. So if you want me to read a poem or a creepypasta, by all means, say either poem or creepypasta in the chat. And everybody can only vote once. Ah, Jinxie, what now? What now, Jinxie? So if I told you if I told you drink fizzy wine with me, if I ever traveled there, you wouldn't? No, of course not. I mean, champagne. Maybe, like actual champagne, sure. But I'm not going to drink fizzy red wine. If you want grape lemonade, buy it in the store. Fizzy red wine. Oh, God, the thought of it. Lemonade isn't fizzy. Whatever lemonade is, I don't really know. Still, no. Silly goose. Says the Canadian. Is the Canadian really calling me silly goose? Really now? Kitty cat, please do not hiss at your daughters. They love you, you love them. Do not make me remind you. Don't hiss. No. Now she's aggressively licking herself because of oh god, she's aggressively licking her own neck. Like, of course she can do that. Sure. I don't know even how to say it. Alright, so Michelle says if your lemonade is fuzzing, there's something wrong with it, do not drink it. Like, do I have something wrong in my head then? Do I have wait, do I have a wrong translation in my head to what... Is it sizzles then? I don't know. What's the word? Because when I think of sizzling, I think of something warm sizzling on a fire and stuff like that. Jinxie, I don't care if it's from Italy. If it's from Italy, it's most likely from Rome, which is catered to tourists who are not Italian. Simple as that. Seriously, the people from Rome just easily sell themselves. Please, no. Your ancestors betrayed you, not me, says Jinxie. Well, Jinxie, once again, it's just the people in and around Rome that is catered to tourists. And maybe the rest of the northern part of Italy, because, you know, they're pansies like that. But seriously, like, fizzy drink, I'm gonna have to look it up now. Jesus, now it's actually bothering me. Fizzy drink. When I think of lemonade... Yeah, it shows literally pictures of Fanta, Cola, and lemonade, and Pepsi. It's literally that. Jesus, I'm not being wrong in this. It's literally soda. Right, I'm gonna count the poll now. Let's see, 1, 2 for poems. 1, 2, 3. 3 then. Alright, so 3 for creepypasta, 2 for poems. Got it. Oh, did I miss one? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Alright, and creepypasta, this poll is closed. Cindy, if you're still in the chat, congratulations, creepypasta finally won. Isn't that fun? Let me have a look. What? I have like so many tabs of creepypasta stories open. Now I just have to choose one. Finally. A creepypasta. It's been too long. That one I can close. That's a short. We don't do shorts on the live streams. No, not this one. Oh, here's one. Die before you sleep. That sounds interesting. Die before you sleep. Quel intéressant. Michelle Grimm, are you maybe thinking of carbonated? Lemonade isn't carbonated. There are lemon-flavored sodas, but lemonade's a whole other thing. At least it is here. Right, so I think this is more my European mind than working here, because we basically call Fanta lemonade, to be fair, and we call Sprite white lemonade. It's basically how we do things here in Europe, just to simplify things. But without further ado, I found a little creepypasta, which is called Die Before You Sleep. Kitty cat, please do not yowl and growl behind me, it is scary. very, very scary. Don't make me scary. Yeah, don't know what that accent was again, but we'll continue. The creepypasta, die before you sleep. You ever wonder what happens to you when you die? Well, I have a little idea of it. People die at all ages, and of all types of causes. Sometimes it's by injury, sometimes it's by disease, but sometimes old men and women just die in their sleep. People who are perfectly healthy, just old. There really is no explanation for why they died, but they just do. There was a little test done in the 1950s to see if this could be explained. They took 10 subjects who were at least 80 years old and asked them if they would stay in a facility until they died. These people were particularly aged. You could tell they didn't have long left. As each one died, something peculiar happened. Just before their hearts stopped, their brain readings became incredibly erratic. But they still matched a certain pattern, that of a person having a nightmare, the worst nightmare anyone had ever seen. Their faces stayed perfectly calm along with their bodies, but they were not calm. One of the test subjects survived. He seemed like a very resilient man. He had the brain reading, same as the others, but his heart did not stop. He awoke with a scream and jerked up violently. The scientist rushed to him and asked what had happened in his mind. He said it was the most terrifying thing anyone could have ever seen, that it was the reason people die in their sleep. No. No, none of that now. I'm sorry for that. Where was I? The scientist rushed to him and asked what had happened in his mind. Of course. He said it was the most terrifying thing anyone could have ever seen, that it was the reason people die in their sleep. He said that dying in your sleep was not peaceful. It was the worst experience you could ever have. And as he was about to tell them what had happened, his eyes rolled back into his head and he collapsed onto the bed. He had died from exhaustion. His heart failed completely. The scientists were baffled. The project was stopped there. They refused to put any more people through this experience. Results were locked away, hidden from the eyes of the world. It was lost in the government machine for the public never to see. But one of those scientists was not satisfied with this. Many years later, he was of the age where he could die in his sleep. I'm sorry, I was just a little sidetracked here. Wow. Die in his sleep, okay. He remembered the project from years ago and decided to find out what the old man was about to tell him. He spent quite some time preparing his old heart for anything that could come at it. He wanted to make sure he stayed alive. One night, he went to sleep, same as always, but his dream was different. He was in the dark, with a small light emanating from what seemed to be a bathroom. He couldn't stop himself from walking towards it. He opened the door. There was one small flickering light, a dirty-looking mirror, a broken-down toilet, and a shower, which seemed to be in the same condition. The floor was cold concrete, and there was a sink. It seemed perfectly normal. He felt himself being forced to wash his face. He looked up from the sink into the mirror and saw himself. He looked perfectly normal as well. He wiped his face off, reopened his eyes, and saw his reflection again. But it was much, much different this time. The person in the reflection seemed to be him, but they were different. It was as if someone had taken him out of the grave around 6 months later. The figure was decayed, but still retained some semblance of him. The scientist was paralyzed with fear, but not paralyzed enough to stop himself from fulfilling an incredible urge to reach towards it. He slowly moved his hand towards the mirror. Instead of having his hand stopped by cold glass, it kept going towards the figure. He whipped his hand back with incredible shock and fear. The figure slowly started to speak. It said in a raspy, degraded version of the scientist's voice, "Everyone has their time. You are lucky enough to last this long, but your time has come. Prepare yourself." The figure then moved towards him. He looked for any escape whatsoever, but the door had disappeared. He was trapped in that room. His fear completely froze him from any moment, and the figure suddenly rushed at him, screaming a more terrifying scream than you could ever imagine in your entire lifetime. As soon as it made contact with him, he woke up. He sat up violently, having massive breaths. The scientist realized immediately what he had experienced. He quickly grabbed a piece of blank paper that was sitting on the desk next to him. He had prepared this beforehand, just in case. He scribbled out the words as quickly as he could, for he knew that his heart was about to collapse. The paper said, "Die before you sleep." He then threw the paper and pencil down and expected to die right then. But he didn't. He looked over to the exit of the room. Standing there was the figure from his nightmare. The figure whispered, "You didn't think you could get away that easily, did you?" The scientist's eyes widened with terrible fear. He managed to whisper, What are you?" The figure rushed towards the side of his bed and whispered in his ear, "I am God." And with those words, the scientist died. The scientist was a lonely man. All of his family were dead, and he had but one friend. Nobody found the body for months. But one day, his friend came to visit. He went to his house and knocked on the door. No answer. After a few seconds, he smelled an incredibly horrid stench coming from the house. He walked around to the back and looked into the bedroom window. Inside, it was dark, but he could make out the decaying figure of his friend, who had been in there, dead for months. The figure almost exactly matched the one that had caused him to die. He called the cops and they picked up his body. The cause of death was simply declared old age, but they found a paper next to his bed. It was filed away in evidence, and there were a few local newspaper stories about it. And so everyone kept on believing that dying of old age was natural, and dying in your sleep was the most painless method to go by. Well, good for them. And that was the creepypasta. Kitty cats. And that was the creepypasta Die in Your Sleep, whose author is unfortunately unknown. By all means, chat, what did you think of this creepypasta? Do tell me, what do you think? Let me know, let me know. Yeah, Jinxie, here's the thing. I'm not ignoring you, but when I'm reading, I simply do not look at the chat, because that would distract me. Wow, chat. Chat is a little quiet today, but that's fine. That's fine. We have been on it for a long while, like 3 hours with one break. Unless chat is having problems again. Oh no, Cindy. Oh no, Cindy, did I wake you? Cindy says, I fell asleep. Oh, I'm so sorry, Cindy. Did I wake you? Please don't tell me I woke you. Oh, I feel bad then. Cindy, I need to get off. Well, alrighty then, Cindy. I get that you're tired. Trust me, I am too. It's like 5:37 a.m. Oh wow, I didn't have the time in my. I didn't look at the time. Wow, 5:37 a.m. on my end. I should probably go to sleep soon. Yes, but I did promise the Raven for the Duchess of Darkness, which is about to happen. Cindy, if you go off, I bid you a good rest and a good night. Cindy says, I'm headed to bed. See you next time. Indeed, Cindy, we'll see you next time. And stay tuned for the live stream that is coming next week on Wednesday, where Dreadful Anecdotes will be my guest. Duchess of Darkness, that was a wonderful reading. Thank you, Duchess. Thank you very much. I just noticed that Jinxie and Michelle were having a discussion on the chat regarding fizzy things and lemonade and soda and stuff. I don't care. For me, it's all in the same category. I don't really care. Fizzy red wine. Ugh. But yes, once again, what did you think of the reading of Die Before You Sleep? Michelle Grimm. My kid came in and distracted me for a good portion of it, so I unfortunately don't have the full opinion on it. I get that, Michelle, I get that, because throughout the reading I had 3 cats running and meowing around. I get that. I get that. Yeah, I get it. But then again, you can always replay it when the stream is over. It's like 3 hours of content right here. I mean, yeah, no, Michelle, I get it. It's not the same. I get that, but here's the thing. You have the freedom to, if something happens on your side, you can at least get up and do something about it. I'm not. Once the live stream begins, I'm pretty much like not moving from my desk, or I try to move as minimal away from my desk, you know? Except for break times, but that's break times. I'm allowed to do that. But yeah, it's quite right, not the same. That's a child, and I'm talking about 3 cats that's like little harridans running around here. Oh wow, there's already light coming out outside. That's nice. Welcome to anyone new to the chat once again. DrTorment livestream here. It is currently 5:40 a.m. where I'm at. I'm possibly making this the last reading. Yes, I am. So, I did promise a Edgar Allan Poe reading of The Raven, which will happen. Well, I meant about sodas versus lemonades. Oh, like that. Alright, so that's not the same. I am so sorry, Michelle, for the misunderstanding. Once again, 5:40 a.m. Even my mind is like... Ooh. No, those are woozy sounds I made up myself, but you get the picture there. I'm basically running on fumes. But yes, Duchess of Darkness, here comes your special request of the poem The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Let me just take a last little sip. There we are. Maybe 1 or 2 more. Hold on. There we go. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was a bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating, then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." Then I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what there it is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord and lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I travelled, this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me as my hopes have flown before. And then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it mutters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon a velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat, engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl, whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplit gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating over, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forgot this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempest sent or whether the tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell the soul with sorrow laden, within the distant Aden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign and parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadows on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. And there we have it, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, especially requested by Duchess of Darkness. Probably the most famous of Edgar Allan Poe's works, but also one of the few that really gets me going when I'm in it. If that makes sense, I don't know. You may have noticed, like, it started off kinda slow, and then I really got into it. That's just me. The Raven always will have that effect on me, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but still. The Raven will always have that effect on me. Sippy sip. Duchess of Darkness says, beautiful. Thank you, Duchess. Thank you. Jinxie says, favorite poem. Wow. Jinxie says, favorite poem. It is. I think Jinxie and Duchess were among the first people that kind of recommended me. But if I were to start reading poems, it should be The Raven from Edgar Allan Poe. Wow, that almost rhymed. Oh wow. Michelle Grimm says, bravo, with 3 claps, so those were the claps, translated. You are very much welcome, the 3 of you, and whoever is still in the chat, thank you. But with The Raven done and gone, I do believe it is about time that we end this stream. Mainly because it's almost 6 AM on my time. And I've been up all night. Basically started this stream at 1:30 AM. Oh, Michelle, have you ever watched the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror? The first one recites it. Funny stuff. Yes, I've actually seen that episode. Me and another friend of the channel, TJ Hodder from the Tapes of Trepidation podcast, that was actually the point of reference he made for it, and that made him one of the people that actually went and convinced me, together with Duchess and Jinxie. Michelle, so there you go. That's the lore as why I have The Raven in my own podcast on Spotify. Again, a link in the link tree. And on the channel. Highly recommend you watch it. It's fun. I had fun. It's how the whole poem streak on the channel began. But, as I said, before I indulge myself into speech much more, it is time to end this stream. Duchess already was saying good night, Doctor, and gave me a glass of whiskey. Thank you very much. Oh, I miss it so much. But, ladies and gentlemen, to those in the stream and in the future after the stream is done, this has been number 4 of DrTorment streams. There's not a lot much to say. I've read 3 of my stories. We had a lot of fun and ended with The Raven on Edgar Allan Poe. With that all said and done, if you want to see more content coming from me, by all means, you can visit the link tree in the description of the video and choose whether or not to support the channel at your own volition. By all means, I am also available on Spotify, which is very recently made, and I'm very excited for that to take off. With that said, I want to thank everyone in the chat for being there with me. So Jinxie, Michelle, Duchess, Cindy, Marty, and Dreadful Anecdotes, who was here as well at the start. Thank you all for being here with me tonight. Well, tonight for me. And I think that's about all I can say here. I think that is about all I can say here. By all means, visit me on Patreon if you wish to support the channel, or buy me a coffee. It's all dandy and nice. And I see you all in the next session. And do not forget that... what day was it? Excuse me, I have to look. Right, so... on Wednesday the 14th, I have another live stream planned with Dreadful Anecdotes, who will be my guest then. So that's something to look forward to, and we will be doing more Q&As and live readings. There we are, with that all said. Let me have a last look at the chat. Jinxie says, good night, Doctor. Alright then. Michelle says, awesome, and I definitely will. This was fun, says Michelle. Thanks for the invite. Good night, Doctor. Jinxie goes, yeah! Yes, alright. Everyone, have a good night. And remember, don't fall asleep ever.